February Life Update. I really love these episodes because this is a way that you can get an inside look into our life and what we've been up to lately. And I can tell you that February was a whirlwind. I know obviously it's the shortest month of the year and it always seems to go by super quick. But this February in particular was hard and a little bit crazy. And so I'm excited to give you a little bit of an update. If you're new here, hi, I'm Samantha Welch, but my friends call me Sam, so you can call me Sam as well. I'm a wife, mom to 3 girls, and we're all about the faith, homesteading, homeschooling, and for me, the entrepreneurial lifestyle. We live on a 40-acre farm in north central Arkansas, and this podcast is all about stewarding our time, stewarding our resources, and stewarding our life in general and leaving a legacy for our children. It's so fascinating to me, the stories that God gives us. And so sharing mine, I hope it just encourages others to step out and to trust Him and to become a woman of courage. So, February, oh my goodness, there was a lot that happened all at once. Like you would think that February would actually be a fairly slow month as far as farm and life goes, but that is just not the case. Pretty much February is all about the prep for spring here on the farm. And we're also still in the throes of homeschooling and just life in general. So the absolutely biggest thing that happened in February was that our church building burned down. So the church building was also our best friends and fellow church members' wedding venue. And they've had that venue for the last 10 years, and that was their source of income. So that was really, really hard, just knowing how to be there for them as they navigated this and are still navigating it, and, just figuring out those next steps. There's also quite a bit of PTSD for me personally, having been through a house fire before, but I feel like that God already has been working through this situation, and it was such a devastating loss. But it has also been really awesome, just really, really awesome to see our church, like the church come together and the community come together. Because I have to say, after the last year, last few months in general, with stuff that has happened in my personal life, I was really losing faith in people and actually becoming quite cynical. I didn't even realize how cynical I was becoming. So watching the church bond together with our friends and watching the community come together for them actually just gave me a little bit more faith in people. And I was like, okay, there are some really great people out there, and I need to quit being so cynical. So I feel like that was really huge. Obviously, there's still so much that's still being navigated, and I'm still trying to figure out how to be there for my friends. And we're currently hosting church at one of our members' home, and we're really praying individually and as a church on like what to do about the church building and all of that stuff. Something else that also means is that I'm in a bit of a work transition because I had pretty much went to exclusively photographing weddings out at the venue and also helping with some of the wedding coordination for the all-inclusive weddings. And so I'm currently figuring out like if I'm going to lean more into farm photography sessions or continuing to just work to grow this podcast, and my AI podcast is really blown up. So it's a little scary, but also kind of exciting too, just because of the possibilities. So yeah, that was definitely the biggest event that happened in February, and I'm not sure that there's going to be very many months that's going to surpass that type of thing. But God is so faithful, and I know that He has a plan and that He will work all of that out. So another big part of February was just farm life. Farm life right now has been actually really super fun. So this is our first year to grow in our high tunnel. So we spent February breaking ground, killing out the ground cover, prepping the beds, and I added a little bit of compost and like some hay to it and everything. And then I got our early spring crop in, which I'm really excited about because I usually don't plant an early garden at all. And by the time I if I have planted it, by the time I got it planted, it was like already too hot. But with the high tunnel, I was able to get it in a little earlier. And so hopefully we'll get a really good harvest before it actually gets hot. So some things we planted is we planted carrots, peas, radishes, kale, turnips, collard greens, all of those cold hardy things that you can eat fresh. And I am especially excited for like the kale and the collards and the turnips because I plan to freeze dry a lot of those and then powder them and add them to like soups and smoothies and stuff like sneaking in veggies. So I think that's going to actually be really fun. I know it's kind of weird to be like it's going to be fun to sneak in veggies. But yeah, kind of. So I'm really pumped about that. I think it's going to be awesome. We also did a lot of orchard work this month. So before the trees bloom out, that's when you do all of the pruning and the maintenance. So we pruned a ton, and we also did a round of spraying them with lime sulfur, which pretty much is like giving the trees a bath, and it helps with like fungus and diseases and all that stuff on the trees. Just help them stay healthy, and that just helps kind of clean them up and protect them before the growing season. That's the only time we spray our trees at all. So everything else, like the fruit and stuff, never does get sprayed. This was also the first time this year that we lime washed our trees. So we took lime powder and we mixed it with a little bit of salt and water and made like a paint, and then we painted the trunks of the trees, and so that's supposed to help with like bugs and keeping the trees healthy too. And it also makes the trees look really pretty because it looks like they've kind of been painted. Or I mean they obviously have been painted, but it just looks pretty. So I'm glad it's like a dual purpose thing. So we did that, and then we also planted a few more fruit trees. So mostly apple and a couple plums. The new trees probably won't produce for another 3 years or so, but they're at least in the ground, and I'm excited for our orchard growing. I'm hoping, though, with the trees that we do have that are mature, that we will actually get a lot of fruit this year, Lord willing, if the buds don't freeze. It's been really warm lately, and we need the trees to wait at least another month before they bud out. So hopefully they'll wait. So that's kind of been where things stand with the farm right now. Another thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is work rhythms. With all the farm work, with our homeschooling, with our church, family, and everything else that we have going on, I've been thinking about how can I structure my day where I'm truly getting what matters done and I'm not just checking off a to-do list. Because I have a really bad habit of being very productivity minded. And so if I mark off a full to-do list in a day, I feel like I've accomplished a lot. But I started noticing something. There would be some days when I would fall into bed completely exhausted, and then other days I would fall into bed like really tired, but it was a very good tired. So I actually used AI to help me think through this, and I made notes every single day for about 2 weeks about what happened that day, like what the pattern of the day was, how the day ended. Did the day end with what I call like a good tired, or did it end with just being completely exhausted trying to get everything done? And so I started noticing patterns, and there's about 4 or 5 elements that really made up a good day for me. And the first was finishing something meaningful or creative before the kids got up in the morning. So like right now I'm recording this podcast and it is currently 5:45 in the morning. And so I got up, I got Justin off to work, and now I'm here and I'm finishing up something meaningful before the day actually even begins. Like it's obviously not even light outside or anything. The second thing that I've noticed that's extremely important that I tend to neglect is just getting outside and moving my body. It doesn't even have to be like a farm project. It just needs to be that I'm getting outside, that I'm moving around, that I'm accomplishing maybe one small thing outside, or that I'm just actually walking around, breathing deeply, enjoying the farm, and just even right now, all my flowers are starting to bloom, so just enjoying my flowers. The third thing is time with my kids and my husband. So it doesn't have to be super formal or planned out. And in fact, I've noticed that when it's not, it's even better. But what it can be is just like working on a project together, having a good conversation with them, or just focusing on them in some meaningful way. And that does not include homeschool work. That doesn't count because I do that all the time. That's not what I'm meaning. It's just like being with them, a project, a conversation, just intentionally focusing on spending time. The last thing is that some sort of meaningful adult conversation or community. So I'm already really big on hosting and opening my home, but that's obviously not something I can do every day. So even something as simple as like texting a friend, having a short conversation, that counts for me. Going over to my neighbor and spending time like having coffee with her, that's what I'm meaning that by community or connection. Right now I'm doing like a workout challenge with one of my friends, and so we text each other every day when we finish the workout, and that also counts as community for me as well. So not every day is going to include all of these things, of course, but I just noticed that those are the elements that seem to be what really creates just like a good tired day. And I'm trying to incorporate each of those in some aspect into each of my days instead of just being so to-do list minded. And so that's something that's been really interesting for me that's come out of February. One last little update from February. I haven't really listened to any podcasts or read any books this month, which is kind of odd for me, but there's just been a lot going on. But I have been listening to a lot more music. So our Homeschool Co Op, we've started to learn about orchestra and famous composers. And as I tend to do with things, I always put my own little spin on it. So as we've been talking about like the classical music and stuff, I've also wanted to share some history of like music of our ancestors. So lately I've been really into listening to like traditional Appalachian and Ozark folk music and just really appreciating the stories that those songs tell and the instruments that were played. And yeah, it doesn't look anything like classical music, but I think that the history is really important and that those songs carry a lot of it. And so I've been learning a little bit more and sharing it with my co-op class. So we're still learning the orchestra and those instruments, and we'll be learning about the composers, but I also am like, let's learn about like people that are probably our ancestors, right? And those stories. So that's been something I've really been enjoying lately. I've just been listening to a lot more music. So that pretty much sums up February in a short format. Thanks so much for listening. With this podcast, I originally planned to put an episode out every week, and I may still try to work towards that. But as of right now, every other week seems to be working best with my schedule. So if you're enjoying this podcast, the absolute best way to support is to follow and leave a review. That means so much to me. And if you want to see behind the scenes of our life and what we're doing on the farm, you can follow me on TikTok. That's where I post videos regular. And you can also find me on other social media platforms as well. However, those are just reposted videos and I haven't been keeping up with those as much. So follow me on TikTok if you want to see things like more real time, and then you can follow me anywhere else if you want to just see things as I get to it. So until next time, go out, steward your time well, love your family, and I cannot wait to connect with you in the next episode.